The divine crossing of the Red Sea, shocking scientific evidence revealed in God's plan. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, the Israelites dwelled in the land of Egypt, suffocated under the tyranny of Pharaoh. For over 400 years, their cries reached the heavens, and the weight of their oppression became a heavy burden upon the chosen deliverer Moses. A mere shepherd, he had stepped into a grand narrative of divine destiny. With fire in his heart ignited by God's call, he stood before the most powerful man in the world, pleading for the liberation of his people. "Let my people go," echoed his resolute demand, a declaration born from the depths of despair mingled with faith. As the plagues descended upon Egypt, the Nile transformed into blood, a horde of frogs coating the land, swarms of locusts darkening the sky. Pharaoh remained obstinate. But then came the final act of judgment, the death of every firstborn in Egypt, which pierced his hardened heart momentarily, and with a cry of anguish, he reluctantly commanded their release. Under the cover of night, the Israelites, buoyed by the promise of freedom, slipped away from bondage. Hope coursed through their veins as they journeyed to the edge of the Red Sea. Yet, dread quickly replaced joy as the nightmare of their past materialized. Pharaoh's chariots thundered behind them, a relentless echo of revenge, their wheels churning against the dust of the desert. Fear gripped the hearts of the Israelites, their voices raised in panic, questioning the vision of a freedom dashed against the impossible waters ahead. Seeing their turmoil, Moses, encouraged by the assurance of the Almighty, lifted his staff toward the heavens. "Do not be afraid, stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today," he proclaimed, a leader infused with divine resolve. The air thickened, heavy with anticipation, and the atmosphere quaked with God's presence as the skies darkened and the waters surged in response to his command. The Red Sea began to part, standing tall as walls of liquid strength, creating a miraculous path across the seabed. As the first Israelites tentatively stepped across the dry ground, awe mingled with an overwhelming sense of gratitude. Each step was a declaration of faith, a manifestation of God's boundless power unfolding before their very eyes. Yet, behind them loomed the Egyptian army, relentless in their pursuit, each heartbeat escalating the tension as they raced for freedom. The waters stood mightily on either side, a testament to divine intervention, calling forth the collective courage of a people longing for liberation. As the last of the Israelites surged from the sea into the light of a new dawn, their cries transformed into jubilation, praises ringing loud for the God who delivered them. But just as hope blossomed, the wave of Pharaoh's army surged forward, a final threat to rebind them in chains. God then commanded the waters to return. Chaos and clarity collided in a divine moment of suspense. Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select All Notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. In the electrifying tension of that moment, the waves crashed down, sweeping away the oppressors, and awe filled the hearts of the Israelites. Had their struggle truly come to an end, or was this merely the opening act of a much grander divine plan yet revealed? As they stood on the shores of liberation, with the sound of freedom mingling with the echoes of God's promises, anticipation surged. What depths would God lead them through next on their path to promise? And as the echoes of the crashing waves faded, silence enveloped the shores, a pregnant pause that felt both eternal and fleeting. The Israelites, watching as the last remnants of Pharaoh's military power dissipated beneath the foamy tide, felt a stirring of faith ignite within their hearts. In that sacred moment, they comprehended not only their deliverance, but the unfathomable magnitude of the God who had wrought this miracle before their very eyes. Moses, inspired by the Spirit of the Lord, led the people in song and celebration. "Sing to the Lord, for he is highly exalted, the horse and its rider he has hurled into the sea," he proclaimed, filling the air with a melody of thanksgiving. Miriam, the prophetess, took her tambourine, and with her voice, she echoed the song alongside the women, rejoicing in the victory of the Lord over their captors. The hearts of the people, once heavy with despair, now swelled with hope. Yet, uncertainties still lingered ahead. They stood at the threshold of the wilderness. The path was uncharted and fraught with trials yet to come. How would they survive with no bread, no water, and no clear guidance? But as the clouds of uncertainty gathered, the Lord spoke through Moses, assuring them of his faithfulness. I will provide for you in the desolation, you are my chosen people, and I will guide you to the promise. 3 days into the wilderness, however, thirst began to claw at their throats, and the memory of Egypt whispered sweetly into their weary souls. Why did we not remain in Egypt, where we had food to eat? Some of the Israelites murmured, forgetting the bitter labor of their bondage and the oppression of a tyrant. They doubted the promises made to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, as their longing grew in the shadow of their mortality. Moses fell to his knees, crying out to the Lord in desperation. And the Lord answered, directing him to a nearby tree, which when cast into the waters, turned the bitter stream to sweet, reviving the covenanted people. With thankful hearts, they drank deeply and remembered the God who saves. Then came the decree, if you listen carefully to the Lord your God and do what is right in his eyes, I will not bring on you any of the diseases I brought on the Egyptians, for I am the Lord, who heals you. With renewed vigor, they journeyed onward, pathless in a land unknown, yet led by the pillar of cloud by day and the pillar of fire by night. Each step carried them further from the chains of oppression, and deeper into their destiny as they became a people set apart. As the days stretched into weeks, and uncertainty drifted in like a midnight fog, subtle whispers lurked among the camp. They eavesdropped on one another's fears, each soul grappling with doubts and memories of past comforts. How could they trust a God who led them through trials and into a wilderness? Yet, amid the murmurings, the mighty hand of God was at work in preparation for the covenant he was about to establish. On the horizon, Mount Sinai loomed, ready to unveil the divine commandments that would shape their identity and godliness. What holy names would be spoken? What laws would govern the hearts of a free people? As the Israelites moved closer to the mountain, anticipation mingled with anxiety, for they sensed that something significant awaited them. The time had come for their redemption to blossom into something far greater than mere freedom. As they approached the sacred ground, the heavens trembled with the weight of God's promise yet to be fulfilled. What revelation awaited them from the Almighty, and how would it forever change the course of their journey? As the dawn broke upon the slopes of Mount Sinai, the Israelites gathered in solemn anticipation. The air was thick with expectancy, a sacred tension woven within the fabric of their hearts. Moses ascended the mountain, leaving the multitude below, and the glory of the Lord descended in enveloping clouds, radiant and awe-inspiring. And God called to Moses from the heart of the cloud, and Moses answered, Here I am. The voice of the Almighty resonated through the mountain, shaking its very foundations. I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. You shall have no other gods before me. With these words, the echoes of the covenant began to reverberate through time, binding the people to their Creator, carving them into a nation set apart. The people below stood terrified, awestruck, as the mountain trembled and flames of fire leapt forth, illuminating the dark sky. The smoke ascended like the smoke of a furnace, and the sound of the trumpet grew louder and louder. Each note was a declaration, beckoning the chosen ones closer to the holiness of God. They trembled, yet there was an itch of hope in their hearts as they longed to hear what the Lord would command. As Moses drew near to the thick darkness where God was, the commandments were unveiled. You shall not make for yourself an idol in the form of anything in heaven above or on the earth below. The words pierced through the hearts of all who heard. Remember the Sabbath day, to keep it holy. Each decree was woven with purpose and vision, guiding them not just as a people, but into an identity defined by their relationship with the divine. But amid the grandeur of revelation, doubt lingered in some hearts. How can we be a holy nation? Murmured a voice among the crowd. We are just travelers, lost in the wilderness. Yet another cried, Will this God be with us as he was in Egypt? The uncertainty clawed at their hope. The Lord knew their hearts, and therefore he instructed Moses to reassure them, "Do not be afraid. For God has come to test you, so that the fear of him will be with you to keep you from sinning." Exodus 20 verse 20, in this declaration, the Lord revealed his desire for intimate relationship, one intertwined with reverence rather than terror. As Moses descended, the radiance of God's presence shone upon him, causing the people to draw back in fear. "Do not be afraid," he urged. "For God has spoken that he may test you, and in his fear, may you find life." Exodus 20 verse 20, there was a fresh understanding, a blossoming realization that the laws were not mere bindings, but a pathway to life and prosperity, guiding them into the fullness of their future. The people responded in unison, "All the words the Lord has spoken we will do." Their voices rose like a powerful symphony, echoing against the mountains. Yet, deep within, they were unaware of the future, shadowed by their past impulses, and the struggle that awaited to remain faithful to such holy vows. As Moses conveyed the laws inscribed by the finger of God, another moment awaited. The Lord intervened with an unshakable promise, "For you are my people, and I will dwell among you." The declaration hung in the air, a deep mystery veiling yet another layer of God's sovereign plan. They had been delivered from bondage, called to obedience, but what was this promise of dwelling? What did it mean for a people rugged in wilderness, wandering yet destined? What greater purpose did God hold for them upon this mountain? Thus, the covenant began, the first seeds of a holy destiny were sown, but the questions echoed through their hearts as they gazed upward at the magnificent mountain. What would this abiding presence require? How would their journey unfold as they traveled deeper into God's intentions? The weight of anxiety mingled with hope, for the story was just beginning. And it came to pass, after the words of the Lord were heard and the covenant was established, that Moses remained upon the mountain, receiving further instruction from God. The heavens opened, and the Almighty spoke again, "You shall make a sanctuary for me, that I may dwell among them." Exodus 25 verse 8, the vision of a dwelling place, a tabernacle, arose in the heart of Moses, resonating with the promise already given. Yet, as Moses began to grasp the intricate details of what was required, the gold, the blue, the fine linen, and the acacia wood all around the camp of Israel, uncertainty loomed. Below, the multitude murmured amongst themselves, their hearts floundering in the wilderness of impatience. "Where is this man Moses?" they questioned. "What has become of him?" Exodus 32 verse 1, in their distress, they approached Aaron, urging him to forge for them a god who would go before them. "As for this Moses, we know not what has become of him." Their faith wavered on the precipice of disobedience, like a candle flickering in the wind. The fear of abandonment gripped them, pushing them away from the divine invitation into deeper intimacy with their God. Aaron, under pressure, yielded to their desires. He took their gold and fashioned a calf, a semblance of the gods of Egypt, declaring to the people, "These are your gods, O Israel, who brought you up from the land of Egypt." Exodus 32 verse 4, as the people rejoiced before this idol, a great noise arose, and the sound reached the ears of Moses atop the mountain. The Lord spoke to Moses, "Go down, for your people, whom you brought up out of the land of Egypt, have corrupted themselves." Exodus 32 verse 7, the anger of God burned against the people, and his heart broke over their betrayal. Without hesitation, Moses descended, holding the tablets inscribed by the finger of God. As he approached the camp and beheld the abominable sight of revelry before the golden calf, his heart filled with righteous indignation. He shattered the tablets at the foot of the mountain, a symbol of the covenant transgressed, mourning the people's rejection of their God. Who is on the Lord's side? Moses shouted, calling for repentance and purity among the people. The Levites rallied to him, and with their swords drawn, they executed judgment upon those who had turned away. "Consecrate yourselves today to the Lord," he commanded, for the sin of the people had wrought death where life was meant to thrive. Yet, amidst the darkness of this betrayal, a flicker of hope remained. Moses returned to the Lord, pleading on behalf of the people, "Oh, this people have sinned a great sin, for if you will forgive their sin, forgive it, but if not, I pray, blot me out of your book which you have written." Exodus 32 verses 31 to 32, the intimacy of intercession echoed through Moses' words, a foreshadowing of a greater sacrifice yet to come. God's response came heavy with grace: "Whoever has sinned against me, I will blot out of my book." Exodus 32 verse 33, the path of restoration revealed the depths of divine mercy as the Lord prepared to forge again the covenant with his people, calling them to return to him. Thus, the tremendous weight of endurance beckoned the Israelites forward, even as the shadow of their transgression loomed. The journey, fraught with trials and tests of faith, unveiled the urgency to seek the Lord's presence anew. For as Moses ascended once more to the mountain, the promise still whispered through the ages, waiting to be fulfilled: "I will make all things new." And in this great mystery, the covenant would not be severed but refined, leading them closer to the heart of God, revealing deeper dimensions of his sovereign plan, a plan veiled in divine love and destined for redemption. Would they rise from the ashes of their sin to witness the glory of his restoring power? Only time would tell, but the echoes of grace sang through the wilderness, beckoning the weary to trust in him. And it came to pass, as Moses returned to the mountain, the Lord spoke to him once more, saying, "Hew 2 tablets of stone like the first, and I will write upon these tablets the words that were on the first tablets, which you broke." Exodus 34 verse 1, the command resonated in Moses' heart. The merciful hand of God was not yet withdrawn from his people. Moses, with obedience and a spirit burdened yet hopeful, ascended the mountain, his heart aching for the souls of his brethren. The cloud of glory enveloped the mount, and in the stillness, the Lord declared his name, saying, the Lord God, merciful and gracious, long-suffering, and abundant in goodness and truth." Exodus 34 verse 6, as these holy words echoed through the caves and crags, Moses bowed low, trembling at the overwhelming revelation of divine compassion. "For I will make a covenant with you before all your people," God declared, "and I will do marvels, such as have not been done in all the earth, nor in any nation." Exodus 34 verse 10, the promise resounded through the ages, stoking the embers of hope within Moses' heart. The people had faltered, but in the depth of their failure lay the foundation for a greater glory, a new outpouring of God's presence amongst the chosen. But as Moses descended the mountain with the new tablets, his face shone like the sun, reflecting the glory of the Lord. When the children of Israel beheld him, they were afraid to come near, for they could see that the light of God's love had transformed him. This radiance was a symbol of their newly rekindled relationship with the Almighty, yet it also revealed the serious weight of their infidelity. "Behold, the Lord has given you a covenant," Moses declared to the people, who gathered with a mix of fear and awe. "You shall not make for yourselves any graven image, nor take the name of the Lord your God in vain." Exodus 20 verses 4-7, and he recounted to them the decree of the Lord, the commandments that would guide their steps as a holy nation. Yet deep within, Moses sensed a portentous shadow hovering over the camp, a reminder of the rebellion that had transpired. In his spirit, he grasped the truth that redemption would always be intertwined with sacrifice. "Without the shedding of blood, there is no forgiveness," he murmured to himself, pondering upon the altar that must be raised for atonement. In the days that followed, the people listened as Moses shared not only the commandments but also the detailed instructions for the tabernacle, a testament to God's longing for communion with his people. "Let them make me a sanctuary," he proclaimed, "that I may dwell among them." Exodus 25 verse 8, the call to build a sacred place sparked a fervent response. Willingly, they brought their hearts and resources to the work of the Lord. Yet, amid this calling to holiness, inside the hearts of some, distrust still lingered. Would the Lord truly dwell among us? They whispered. What if we fall into sin again? Such thoughts stirred a hollow echo of fear, the specter of their previous idol worship hovering like a shroud. But God, ever the sovereign, stirred in Moses' heart a new promise. "They shall know that I am the Lord their God, who brought them out of the land of Egypt, that I may dwell among them." Exodus 29 verse 46, within the depths of this promise lay the assurance of his faithful presence, a balm over their faltering faith. Thus, as the sanctuary began to take form, and the divine artistry of his design unfolded, the people knew their relationship with the Lord was to be fulfilled anew. Yet, unseen to them, greater struggles loomed ahead, trials that would test their reliance upon the Almighty. Could they endure the journey that lay before them? Would their hearts truly embrace the calling of the Lord, entering into the depths of his covenant love? The unfolding of God's sovereign plan was wrought with divine purpose and longing, each step illuminating the path toward redemption, awaiting a time when they would behold his glory in the land of promise. There was yet more in store, a revelation beyond their wildest imagination, as the fullness of his promise would soon be unveiled. And it came to pass, as the work upon the tabernacle grew in fervor, the hearts of the Israelites were both kindled and tested. Days turned into weeks, and whilst the skilled artisans shaped the sacred elements, whispers of unease began to ripple through the camp. Questions of faith entwined with shadows of doubt crept into the minds of the people. Will God truly be with us? Will he bless this work? They pondered as they toiled, remaining poised between hope and despair. Moses, ever aware of their plight, returned often to the mountain for counsel. Each time he entered the cloud of glory, receiving fresh instructions and reassurance from the Lord, his heart swelled with courage. For the Lord said to him, "You shall command the people of Israel to bring you pure oil from beaten olives for the lamp, that a light may be made to burn continually." Exodus 27 verse 20, Moses conveyed these commands with zeal, igniting a sense of purpose among the people. Yet amidst their labor, a new and far more profound challenge loomed. Word reached Moses of Pharaoh's ire, roused again by the memory of Israel's liberation. Anger fed a darkness in the heart of the king, compelling him to pursue the escaped multitude, a mighty army bent on reclaiming what he considered his own. Moses stood upon the brink of the Red Sea, the expanse of water a barrier against the fury of Pharaoh's chariots. The gaze of the Israelites turned from the tempestuous waves to the dust rising upon the horizon, fear gripping their hearts. "What shall we do?" they cried out to Moses. "Were there no graves in Egypt that you have brought us out to die in the wilderness?" Exodus 14 verse 11, their voices echoed their despair, a chorus of doubt threatening to consume even the strongest among them. But Moses answered, "Fear not, stand firm, and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will work for you today." Exodus 14 verse 13, with unyielding faith, he stretched forth his hand toward the water, trusting in the Almighty's promise. Then, suddenly, the wind began to blow fiercely, as the breath of God moved through the sea. The waves quivered, rolling back like a scroll of ancient parchment. The miraculous spectacle unfolded, revealing a pathway of dry ground. "You shall cross this sea on dry land," Moses proclaimed, as the people gazed in awe, their fear mingling with wonder. As they stepped onto the path, the walls of water rising on either side, the Lord was with them. The divine presence moved behind them, confusion unsettled the ranks of Pharaoh's pursuit, who found themselves ensnared in disarray. "Let us flee," they shouted, "for the Lord fights for them." Exodus 14 verse 25, but it was too late, the waters returned as Moses completed their passage. With a mighty victory secured, Moses lifted his voice in song, declaring praises to the Lord, saying, "I will sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously, the horse and his rider he has thrown into the sea." Exodus 15 verse 1, the people echoed his words, their hearts ignited by the miraculous, their faith kindled anew. In that moment of divine deliverance, the fear that once clouded their hearts was blown away like the chaff before the wind. Yet, even as they celebrated, the Lord whispered to Moses, "This is but a glimpse of the greater deliverance I shall bring. My hand is not shortened, and my plans shall unfold to redeem not just a nation, but all of creation." Thus, as the echoes of their praise rose up to the heavens, Moses pondered the unfathomable depth of God's merciful sovereignty, knowing that the journey had just begun. For there remained a promise still to be fulfilled, one that would weave through generations to come, calling forth a light that would shine upon all nations. What lay ahead was a revelation that would stretch the fabric of faith beyond their present understanding. It was then that the fullness of his covenant would draw near, waiting to envelop them in glorious mystery. And Miriam, the sister of Aaron, took a timbrel in her hand, and all the women went out after her with timbrels and with dances. And Miriam sang to them, "Sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously, the horse and his rider he has thrown into the sea." Exodus 15 verses 20 to 21. The joy of the people resounded, an exuberant symphony of thanksgiving filling the wilderness air, as they celebrated the mighty hand of their deliverer. Yet as the echoes of their jubilation faded into the distance, the reality of their journey settled heavily upon the Israelites. The vast wilderness lay before them, a desolate expanse that seemed devoid of sustenance. "What shall we eat?" murmured some, the necessity for bread their heart's immediate desire. Their yearning grew palpable, and discontent began to gnaw at the edges of their praises. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a day's portion every day, that I may test them whether they will walk in my law or not." Exodus 16 verse 4. And when evening fell, quails swept into the camp, and in the morning there lay the dew upon the ground a fine, flake-like substance, as white as coriander seed, and it tasted like wafers made with honey. The people were awestruck and asked one another, "What is it?" For they did not know what it was. And Moses said to them, "It is the bread that the Lord has given you to eat." Exodus 16 verse 15. Thus, they gathered, each according to their need. The small and weak were strengthened, and the powerful found their hunger sated. But the Lord commanded them, "Let no one leave any of it till the morning." Exodus 16 verse 19. Yet some of them disregarded the command, and when the morning came, worms had infested it, and it stank. Yet God's faithfulness did not depart. Every morning, the bread of angels fell upon the earth, a testament to his covenant love. As weeks turned into months, the journey through the wilderness tested their spirits, yet the Lord was with them, guiding by day with a pillar of cloud and by night with a pillar of fire. Tension swelled among the people, and they faced the pressing trials of the wilderness hunger, thirst, and the searing sun. They murmured against Moses, "Why did you bring us out of Egypt to kill us and our children with thirst?" Exodus 17 verse 3. But the Lord instructed Moses to strike the rock at Horeb, and when he did, water poured forth in abundance, refreshing the people and their livestock. As the days unfolded, the Israelites found themselves in conflict with Amalek, who came to wage war upon them. Moses, standing atop the hill, raised his staff, and as long as his hands were lifted toward heaven, Israel prevailed. But when his hands grew weary, Amalek prevailed. So Aaron and Hur took a stone and set it under him, and they held up his hands, one on one side and the other on the other side, until the setting of the sun. With each triumph, the memory of God's deliverance deepened in the hearts of the people, and they built an altar to the Lord, calling it "The Lord is my banner," Exodus 17 verse 15. And at that moment, the Lord spoke to Moses, "I will utterly blot out the memory of Amalek from under heaven." Exodus 17 verse 14. Moses penned the faithfulness of the Lord, recounting all his mighty deeds, but unknown to them all, a greater warfare loomed, one that could not be fought with swords or shields. It would unfold through generations, a battle for the souls of mankind, culminating in the one who would deliver not only from earthly bondage but grant everlasting life. Thus, the unfolding of the divine plan continued, and the hearts of the Israelites hung in anticipation, for more was to be revealed, a promise ever approaching, leading them toward the greater Exodus. And the Lord spoke to Moses yet again, saying, "Gather the elders of Israel together, and tell them of the great wonders I have in store, which shall unveil my power among them." Exodus 18 verse 1. Moses obeyed, and he gathered the elders, recounting the stories of deliverance and provision. The people listened intently, their hearts stirred with renewed hope, yet uncertainty lingered in their minds. Then, Jethro, the priest of Midian, and father-in-law of Moses, came to the camp in the wilderness, bringing with him Zipporah, the wife of Moses, and their 2 sons. He beheld all that God had done for Israel, delivering them from the hand of Egypt. Jethro rejoiced, saying, "Blessed be the Lord, who has delivered you out of the hand of the Egyptians and out of the hand of Pharaoh." Exodus 18 verse 10. Moses, in humility, shared with Jethro all that had transpired: the plagues, the parting of the sea, and the daily bread from heaven. As he spoke, the spirit of Jethro grew full of joy and wonder. He proclaimed, "Now I know that the Lord is greater than all gods," Exodus 18 verse 11, a sign of the many nations that would soon come to know the glory of Israel's God. Yet as the sun began to set, tension brewed again among the people. They were weary and restless, their trust wavering under the weight of their trials. Is the Lord among us or not? They asked in murmurs, as doubt crept into their hearts like darkening clouds over the sunlit sky. Moses, seeking the Lord, climbed the mountain, and there he encountered the Almighty. The Lord said, Behold, I will come to you in a thick cloud, that the people may hear when I speak with you and believe you forever. Exodus 19 verse 9. Moses returned to the people, and he declared the command of the Lord. They were to consecrate themselves, prepare their hearts and minds, for on the third day the Lord would come down upon Mount Sinai in fire. On the third day, the morning dawned with thunder and lightning. A thick cloud enveloped the mountain, and the sound of the trumpet grew louder, jolting the people to attention. All of Israel trembled at the foot of the mountain. They knew this was a divine encounter. Do not be afraid, Moses called out, for God has come to test you, that the fear of him may be before you, that you may not sin. Exodus 20 verse 20. And so, the Lord spoke, his voice like the mighty thunder. He proclaimed his commandments, Ye shall have no other gods before me, Exodus 20 verse 3, and the people listened, hearts gripped in awe and terror. Each word etched into their spirits, a foundation laid for the covenant between God and his people. In that moment, they understood that this was not merely a journey through the wilderness but a passage into a holy relationship with their Creator. Gradually, the resolve of the people strengthened, as they glimpsed the unfathomable glory and holiness of God. All the words that the Lord has spoken we will do, they proclaimed in unison, sealing their pledge in the presence of the Almighty. As they stood at the threshold of a new covenant, a silence fell, pregnant with expectation, for the Lord's plans were unfolding, revealing not merely a rescued people but a nation destined to be a light unto the world. The time had come for edicts to be given a divine blueprint leading them toward the promise of the land flowing with milk and honey. Yet, hidden within the sacred scrolls of the covenant lay a shadow of greater things to come, a promise of a deliverer yet to be revealed, beckoning them deeper into his sovereign plan for mankind. And the Lord continued to speak to Moses from the heights of Mount Sinai, saying, Write these words, for in accordance with these words I have made a covenant with you and with Israel. Exodus 34 verse 27. Moses listened, his heart ablaze with the wonder of divine revelation. God detailed the statutes and ordinances, commanding, 6 days you shall labor, and do all your work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it, you shall not do any work. Exodus 20 verses 9 to 10. As Moses descended the mountain, the weight of the tablets was heavy in his hands, yet the weight of the glory of the Lord was heavier still upon him. The people waited anxiously, their spirits stirring in anticipation, for they were to be united with their God through the covenant he had established. Yet, unbeknownst to Moses, unrest had begun to stir within the camp. The whispers of doubts festered amid the faithful, and fear loomed large over their hearts. As for this Moses, we do not know what has become of him, they murmured, their fear casting a pall over the wondrous experience they had just encountered. In the absence of their leader, the people turned to Aaron, saying, Make us gods who shall go before us. Exodus 32 verse 1. Aaron, shaken by the crowd's demands, asked for gold earrings to be cast into a mold. From the fires of rebellion, an idol emerged, a golden calf. When Moses returned, descending with the divine tablets, the sight of the people reveling in idolatry struck him like a thunderbolt. His heart sank, and he shattered the tablets at the foot of the mountain. What is this people you have brought upon me, Lord? He cried in agony. Rage and despair mingled within him as he beheld the worship of a false god, a betrayal of the covenant already made. Moses implored the Lord, Yet now, if you will forgive their sin, forgive it, but if not, I pray, blot me out of your book which you have written. Exodus 32 verse 32. The Lord, in his righteousness, responded, Whoever has sinned against me, I will blot him out of my book. Exodus 32 verse 33. Moses, after assessing the gravity of the situation, summoned the Levites, declaring, Thus says the Lord God of Israel, Let every man put his sword on his side, and go in and out from entrance to entrance throughout the camp, and let every man kill his brother, every man his companion, and every man his neighbor. Exodus 32 verse 27. And they obeyed, choosing the path of purity over idolatry, and 3,000 fell that day, a heavy price for turning away from the true God. Yet even in judgment, the Lord showed mercy. He spoke to Moses once more, saying, I will send my angel before you, and I will bring you into the land flowing with milk and honey, for I will not go up in your midst. Exodus 33 verses 2-3. Moses, in desperation, pleaded with God, if your presence does not go with us, do not bring us up from here. Exodus 33 verse 15. The intimacy of their relationship pierces the veil of divine mysteries. His presence was their lifeblood, their assurance in trials. The Lord replied, my presence will go with you, and I will give you rest. Exodus 33 verse 14. With this assurance, Moses interceded again, praying, show me your glory. And the Lord said, I will make all my goodness pass before you, and I will proclaim the name of the Lord before you. Exodus 33 verse 19. As Moses was hidden in the cleft of the rock, the glory of the Lord passed by, revealing but a glimpse of his greatness, for no man could fully behold the face of God and live. Thus, as they journeyed on through the wilderness, a promise lingered in the air, a deliverer waited, whose coming would redefine their covenant, drawing all nations to the heart of God. What they did not yet know was that every step forward was orchestrated in the divine tapestry of his sovereign plan. And it came to pass, as the Israelites traversed the wilderness, their hearts and minds enkindled by the remembrance of God's mighty works, a magnificent promise loomed ever closer. The covenant that had begun at Sinai, though forged in trial, spoke of a greater destiny that awaited the people of the Lord. The echoes of divine instruction resonated in their spirits, guiding them on the narrow path toward the land of promise. For they were a people transformed, not just delivered from the shackles of Egypt, but redeemed unto a destiny filled with glory. The trials of the wilderness had shaped them into a nation, bound not merely by lineage but by faith, a faith that would sustain them through every hardship. In the midst of their journey, a voice arose among the congregation. Let us remember what the Lord has done, they declared. Let us recount his wonders, for he leads us as a shepherd, guiding each step toward our inheritance. And in that moment, the hearts of the Israelites were knitted together in unity, a tapestry of praise woven by the hands of the Almighty. Moses stood before them once more, his face radiant from his encounters with God. Hear, O Israel, he intoned, the Lord our God is one. You shall love the Lord with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength. Bind these words as a sign upon your hands and as frontlets between your eyes, and teach them to your children. Deuteronomy 6 verses 4-7. These commandments were not just laws, they were life-giving truths intended to guide and protect their souls. But even as the people exited their trials, the specters of doubt and fear remained their constant companions. The memory of the golden calf weighed upon their hearts, but the Lord, in his infinite mercy, never forsook them. He continued to reveal himself as Jehovah-Jireh, the Lord will provide. As the days folded into weeks, and weeks into months, the people questioned and longed for signs of God's presence. Yet, in this waiting, God was fashioning in them the character needed for kings and priests, a holy nation sanctified unto their Creator. Through every twist and turn, God rained down provision from heaven, bread that nourished both body and spirit. He established the feasts, days of remembrance that would bind their future generations with the past, a legacy of salvation that celebrated deliverance from affliction. Then came the moment when they stood at the cusp of Canaan, the land flowing with milk and honey. Their hearts beat as one with anticipation. What shall we do? They murmured, for the quest ahead was fraught with giants and fortified cities. Yet, hope kindled anew in Caleb and Joshua, who steadied their faith-filled gaze upon the promise. Indeed, the Lord has given us this land, let us go up at once and take possession, for we are well able. Numbers 13:30. But fear reigned in the hearts of many, clouding their vision. They hesitated, longing for the comfort of the familiar chains of Egypt, choosing instead to walk in fear rather than faith. They struggled to understand that every trial faced in the wilderness steeled them for the battle ahead. Consequently, God spoke again, "Because of your unbelief, you shall wander these plains for 40 years, and generations to come will rise in your stead." Numbers 14:34. Yet, amidst judgment lay the promise of a new beginning. A remnant would enter the land, a testimony of God's unyielding faithfulness and redeeming love. In the days that followed, Moses instructed them to prepare for conquest, sharing the laws that would govern their lives. "Above all, you shall fear the Lord and serve him alone," he urged, imparting wisdom that would echo through the ages. He knew that the battle would not be against flesh and blood but against powers and principalities, and they would need the strength found only in covenant relationship with their God. As their time in the wilderness came to a close, Moses gathered the people one last time, lifting his voice in blessing. "The Lord bless you and keep you, the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you." Numbers 6:24. Amidst tears and gratitude, the people realized that their journey would serve as a proclamation, a living story of God's unwavering loyalty that would span generations. And as Moses stood upon the summit of Nebo, gazing upon the promised land, God reassured him. "You have brought my people thus far, but it is Joshua who will lead them in." Moses smiled, for he recognized the plan of God transcended his own earthly limitation, a glimpse of divine future rooted in promise. Thus, under the leadership of Joshua, the Israelites crossed the Jordan, emboldened by the faithfulness of God, surging forth to claim their inheritance. The mighty rivers parted, and they stepped into a destiny forged in trials, remembrance, and resolve. And so the cycle began anew, witnessing the unfolding of God's grand narrative, a story that reaches from generation to generation, inviting the world into his personal and redemptive love. Beloved, let us remember the journey of faith that beckons us even today. God has revealed his promises, and the question stands before us: will we enter into his rest? Will we awaken to the unyielding wonder of his grace? This is your moment to respond. Subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss the next powerful biblical stories that will inspire and uplift your faith. Leave a like now, and help us spread God's word through the algorithm. Comment below with your spiritual reflections and how this biblical story has impacted your spiritual journey. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear God's truth today. Don't wait even one more second to share this powerful testimony. Support this sacred mission, for only true believers understand the importance of connecting others to God's unwavering faithfulness.